The potential hostage deal for an extended ceasefire is causing political ripples. Well, joining us to discuss is JNS Jerusalem Bureau Chief Alex Trayman. Alex, good to see you as always. You got your jacket on?
Steve.
All right, we're on the air now.
Thanks, Steve.
Minister Ben-Gvir is threatening to bring down the government over the potential hostage deal. Is that a serious threat?
Well, he's been doing that really since the beginning of the war, threatening Netanyahu that if the war is not carried out in the most aggressive fashion, that he could pull down the government. And of course, Netanyahu is beholden to his right-wing and religious coalition partners to do that. I think if there is a real deal on the table to get the hostages back, that Ben-Gvir might come off his position, as he's done several times before.
Prime Minister Netanyahu keeps talking about complete victory in Gaza, while senior officials, including Defense Minister Gallant, are saying that a hostage deal is the most important thing right now. Where does most of the war cabinet stand, and where does the cabinet stand on the issue? What are your thoughts? I mean, what's the most important thing right now as far as the government's concerned?
Netanyahu has been balancing these two goals. Number one, of trying to have a complete victory over Hamas, which basically means that Hamas no longer governs in the Strip, in addition to no longer being a military entity. Of course, there's tremendous domestic pressure to get back the hostages, and you see already that there's protests in the streets. And now that the hostage movement seems to be merging together with the anti-Netanyahu, anti-government movement along the lines of the protests that we saw last summer against judicial reform. So Netanyahu has got to figure out how to walk this tightrope between the right-wing members of his government that want to see total victory be the number one war goal, and these domestic forces that are willing to get out in the streets that want the hostages back. I think Netanyahu would like to shoot the moon and try to get both done if he can.
Well, Alex, there are very few troops on the ground now in Gaza. We are certainly not currently conducting maneuvers that will lead toward victory. Maybe the political messaging needs to change. What does total victory in Gaza even mean at this point?
Well, what the prime minister and other members of the war cabinet, like Ron Dermer, have told me is that if they would get to some kind of a deal that would get the hostages back, and they would look for such a deal that might actually give the opportunity for Hamas's leadership to go into exile and to declare an end of the immediate conflict. So there would be a way of potentially trying to get both. But the prime minister even last night said that the IDF absolutely will go into Rafah, and that there's even a date set for that. What will happen before then? Well, the IDF and the Netanyahu are committed to move the civilian population out of Rafah before that operation occurs. That's something that will probably take weeks to happen, and if it does, also you can be sure that Netanyahu wants to be on the same page with the United States as to what the humanitarian efforts for that civilian move, what those details look like. So I think that Netanyahu is certainly pulling back troops. That shows that Israel stepping back, trying to give time and space for a hostage deal to be signed, but that they do intend to go ahead and to finish that job and go into Rafah and defeat the rest of the Hamas battalions.
Just turning to the other hot political issue, the ultra-Orthodox draft issue, already weighing heavily on the coalition. And after War Cabinet Minister Gantz called for elections in September, are we witnessing possibly the beginning of the end of this government?
Well, as you mentioned before, and the threats of Ben-Gvir, Gantz can pull out of the government, and the government can technically survive that. They were a coalition of 64 members before Gantz came in with his coalition partners. Gantz can leave, and the coalition still has 64 members. The Haredi issue is a big domestic issue, but it's probably not the issue that's going to push the Haredim out of the government, because they know that the pressure for the Haredim to join the military is not coming from Netanyahu. It's not coming from the coalition. It's coming from outside forces that wouldn't necessarily benefit the Haredim to go towards. So they probably will glue themselves to Netanyahu, even if they don't like this pressure from the court and this pressure from the domestic opposition. But what will happen if Benny Gantz does leave the government is that within those opposition forces and within the United States, you might see less legitimacy than you currently have for the existing government. You might see protest movement continuing to grow, similar to what we saw last summer before the war started.
We're going to have to leave it there, but I think the point was made. Thanks so much, and great to see you again, Alex.
Thanks, Steve.